So, welcome to the Speaker's Corner show. The show is broadcast every Sunday, about 2, 3, 4 o'clock, for about 40 minutes or so. It's wanders around Speaker's Corner, chats to various people, finds out what their views are on the world. How you doing, man? The show's on. I do this weekly show, Speaker's Corner show, so you can be the star introducer.
Hey.
Words of wisdom, thoughts?
Weekly show.
Well,
I found a quote that I forget who it's by, some old smart Greek guy. A man who cannot speak his mind is truly a slave. I think there's something in that for all of us.
Yeah, for sure. So I was wondering, just came to my mind because you're a bit of a sort of you're into the internet underworld communication, if you like, Telegram and stuff like that. So tell me about that. Tell the audience about that. What's the importance or significance of or what's the need to go, if you like, in the inverted commas, underground on the internet?
Right. It's very, very simple. We're basically in a battle between two forms of communication, which is one, the highly centralized form that can be best expressed by like Google, Facebook, Twitter, although whether Musk is going to take that in another direction, versus the sort of distributed kind of thing. So Telegram is a really good platform for two reasons. It does not curate your post in any way. So the post that you see is the posted from the people who are posted it.
Okay.
The mods might remove messages, but there's no centralized AI bumping certain posts to the top, suppressing others, and it just comes in as it comes. This is very important if you're trying to follow like real-time news events.
But the posts are in groups and things like that. Then there's not a generic posting, is there?
No. Well, this is the second thing, right? The Telegram is basically like IRC. There are groups, and it can be a bit daunting when you get on.
Okay.
How do you find the right groups?
Yep.
If anyone's new to it, just sign up. There's a search bar at the top. Search for some subjects. Try and like join some channels and see. But Telegram is also full of scammers. Like, just holy shit. Like, if anyone tells you can make money on Telegram, if they mention the word Bitcoin, buy now, or like visit my website, just don't. Is my general, use it for like news, links, images, all that kind of other stuff. But
so is that a mechanism by which forces that are against this type of medium could wreck it?
Well,
just spam it with endless rubbish.
So in cyber warfare, right, there is a concept called friction, right, in information warfare generally. Okay, so what are the fundamental problems with censorship? Well, the Streisand effect. If you censor something and people find out that you've censored it, people tend to say, well, why was that thing censored? They want to seek the information out. This produces a perverse effect. So what you want to be able to do is to censor things without people knowing they are being censored. This is why shadow banning is important. And friction is where you don't ban a thing, you just make it much harder to access. So you make the page load slower, or you you mess up the refresh rate, or you bump it down to the... So if anyone says, oh, I'm being censored, be like, no, it's message is still there. It's not my problem if you can't get to it. And because of the highly paced nature of the way social media works, friction is a very effective way of lowering the number of eyeballs on any particular message without tripping people's censorship.
Sensor alarm.
Sensors, sensor alarm. Basically, yeah.
So, but is that then likely to be, in other words, if people imagine this is an alternative medium of communication, and then if it actually becomes threatening, if it actually becomes threatening, that they just swamp it.
Well, yeah, that's basically
make nuggets a needle in a haystack.
Yeah, I mean that's what they have done with 4chan, for example.
With what?
4chan. So 4chan is like sort of one of the least reputable places on the internet. You know what I mean, right? But it's also the place where you can get like some of the most up-to-date breaking information. So the Hunter Biden laptop story, for example, broke on 4chan, like mainly, right? All the images, they came out over 4chan. There are an incredible number of influential people.
On the side, just so I got light on the other thing.
Browsing 4chan, it's crazy, but 4chan is also offensive as hell. So if you want to partake in it, you've got to it's a bit like panning for gold in a river of crap. You know what I mean? But there is gold there, and one of the stated ways, if you read position papers by these NGOs and university departments that are very, very concerned by the fact that people, say racist stuff on 4chan, is to try and decrease engagement with the platform by swamping it, by making it harder for people to communicate, because again, if they just ban the thing, it's going to fragment. So it's a gentle massaging trick. It's going on constantly. Oh, by the way,
is there a means around this, or does it mean that eventually everything has to gain authority and be curated?
I think...
Or is it a mixture of the two?
Yeah, I think honestly the solution is smaller channels, smaller communities. They do need to be curated, right? But at least if you have like 1,000 different channels, right, you can choose the kind of curation that you want, right? You can join a certain channel, you cannot. It's much more free. Does this increase the likelihood of, things like actual genuine misinformation? Yeah, sure. But the alternative is to have just one source of information, right? Or a series of ones that all basically march in lockstep, which is what we've got at the moment with the mainstream media. And when they get shit wrong, and when they stop people from speaking, the vaccine is the example par excellence of this, right? Misinformation kills people. Well, censorship kills people too. It's killed a whole bunch of people. How many people would not have taken the vaccine had they known just about the doubts with it?
The story on that seems to be now... I see stories every day in the mainstream news about vaccine injuries and deaths.
Yeah.
And it seems to me that with the opening up, the presentation is inverted. In other words, the vax deniers' statements are irrelevant because they're coming out from the mainstream.
Correct.
And in that way, it's about precisely the curation, the timing and placement of the news rather than the news itself. It's not that vaccine injuries and deaths are denied, they're now accepted, but it's when you say it.
Yeah, but it's too late now. Everyone's already taken. Everyone who could be coerced into taking it has taken it.
Pressured.
Coerced, right? So it doesn't really matter. What are you going to do? Apply to Pfizer for a refund? Good luck with that. Look up Pfizer's refund policy.
Yeah.
They don't have one.
Well, it was a state coverage, wasn't it? Yeah.
Correct. So, but yeah, you can see this on the social media ecosphere like a lot.
So how should if someone's going onto Telegram or something like that, how should they approach it? What should be, from your experience of it, how should they mentally consider they're going to approach it? What sort of time should they dedicate to it? How much time do they need to learn it to be able to feel comfortable?
It's pretty simple to understand at a basic level, right? You join a bunch of channels.
You get fired loads of stuff at you.
You just get fired a lot of messages. It can be very overwhelming. I would suggest a good place to start is a channel called We Are Change, run by a guy, Luke Radowski. He's big in alternative media. And then just try and branch out into other channels. That's the real trick with Telegram. You got to know where to go. I think that's also its survivability, because no one person knows all the channels on Telegram, so it's impossible to just nuke them all. You know what I mean? But ask around. Just go on a large channel.
Okay, but then isn't the inverse then that as soon as something like that becomes a threat, that the mainstream adopts the same thing? So their capacity, their capacity to move around.
They can't.
Why?
They can't. Because the entire idea of the mainstream media involves a coherent lockstep narrative, right? And that basic functionality does not really allow for dissent, or it allows for some dissent within a very, very rigidly defined framework, right? And once the dissent starts getting a bit out of control, they'll often shift a bit, like we've seen with the vaccines. You weren't allowed to say anything.
Let me give an example. In China in 1956, Mao encouraged intellectuals to criticize him.
Let a million flowers bloom.
100 flowers.
100 flowers.
And then 100 flowers bloomed. It took a while. People were reluctant, a bit scared, a bit worried. They eventually came out and said what they wanted to say. It became a snowball effect. And once everyone had said everything, well, it's like mate used to say at Speaker's Corner here. they don't let us have speakers corner so you can speak, is so they can hear what you've got to say. And then Mao just swept them all up in one go.
Yep.
So you can see the analogy I'm saying. You know, Google or let's say Twitter under Elon Musk could allow everyone to say what they want. And then having gathered all that information, we know all about the psychology of the critics.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I would generally avoid mainstream platforms like Facebook, like Twitter. They are the most highly monitored places, right? Telegram is tricky to monitor. You need a lot more people to watch Telegram because you need all these people in different channels. There's like a hell of a lot of traffic.
Well, but presumably AI collects all of that. Presumably everything on Telegram is collected by some NSA server.
Again, maybe. Probably for like large channels, right? But there are it's like Pareto distribution. There are many small channels on Telegram, many private channels as well. So although you could get a good picture of what's being generally spread around, also you can't really get Telegram channels shut down unless people do like actual bad stuff, right? So, posting like violence or, bad porn or anything like that, they won't shut your channel down for just disagreeing.
Who won't?
Telegram.
So Telegram is owned and controlled by who?
Telegram is owned by a guy called Pavel Durov, who is a Russian citizen, although Telegram is an international company. But what is interesting about Telegram is that they don't have shareholders, they have bondholders, right? So rather than raising money by selling off bits of the company and giving the people that bought the company voting rights, they instead made bonds and sold them on. So if you buy a bond backed by Telegram, you still get some money, but you don't get any voting rights. So
could you, in theory, have pressure put on that guy who owns it, and the whole thing becomes some other entity?
Well, Telegram did ban RT's Telegram channel.
Is that right?
In certain countries. It didn't shut it down, but it made it so in certain countries you couldn't see it. Now this occurred after the German government pressured them, basically. The German government took them 6 months to get a hold of someone at Telegram because the people at Telegram just kept ignoring them, and they finally figured out who they could threaten, right? And they, we're very, very concerned about Russian misinformation. Yeah, I'm sure you are. You're going to war with them. I mean, like, big surprise. But RT's still up on Odyssey and stuff like that, so I think it was a small L. They do ban some content, but it's very light touch.
Could you imagine a method by which something could be created that does not have these risks? In other words, that like Napster was disseminated on your own machine and other people's machines. Is there some method of bypassing, or is it all in that way inevitably going to be owned or controlled by someone?
No, you can use Matrix, which is like a distributed key chat thing, Mastodon as well, I believe. But these platforms don't have the same amount of reach, so they don't have the same amount of network effect. This is why convenience dooms us all in the end. You know what I mean, right? Are there more secure platforms than Telegram? Certainly. Yeah. Is there the same amount of richness of content? Yeah. Certainly not.
So this is a dilemma permanently, isn't it? That you've got, is there not the likelihood that there's a huge disjoint between people who are getting information from channels like that contradicts the mainstream, and then the general viewpoints of the population think the election on Thursday, which show a disjoint between, for them everything's the same as before.
Well, of course.
So is this disjoint, how do you bridge that gap?
Well, I don't know if you can. So let's take, again, the vaccine as a classic example. So at this point in time, now that the real information is coming out, anyone who took the vaccine who hears this information are going to feel stupid and betrayed and generally not good. They're not going to want to hear it. People who didn't take it are going to feel vindicated and are going to start, being like, look, I fucking told you I was right, you fucking bastards, right? So you, once again, have this very, very clear split in society, really. You get some people cross the line, but not very much. I don't know whether... I've become a bit down on the ability for various parts of society to fundamentally communicate. It seems like it's really starting to go almost not as bad as the US, but in a similar direction. Because you've got multiple groups of people who have fundamentally just different basic assumptions about how reality works.
Yeah.
And that's what generates all of these differences. They don't, in essence, live in the same world.
Do you think that these that these meta dreams and AI cyborg dreams of Elon Musk or of Mark Zuckerberg that will live in a virtual world, do you think they are either reality, viable perspectives, or pile of nonsense?
I think they will probably become a torture and control machine of the likes only envisioned in bad science fiction over the last 40 years. I don't think they will be viable. I think there's a high possibility that people will use them because they are forced to use them, either probably through economic coercive means, right? From what I have seen of the metaverse so far, it basically looks like Second Life. And Second Life was around like 15 years ago, for Christ's sake. They haven't invented anything new at all. So,
but okay, YouTube didn't invent anything new. Google didn't invent anything new. Spotify didn't invent anything new. They just consolidated through their market command.
Exactly. Which is what I'm talking about, the coercive element. So it's not going to be this huge new thing. I mean it probably will. Like I said though, people will probably be forced to use it for things like work. It will become a new standard and people will hate it. But what are you going to do?
Right. And then it's all about twinking it.
Yeah.
Tweaking it. Okay, thanks very much.
Can I give my
so what's your name and what's your website?
If you want to watch me do more of my talkiness, you can find me on Rumble or Odyssey at Newsfist. 2 words, Newsfist. Hope to see you there.
Yeah, they liked the name last time, I remember.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Thanks very much.
See you later, Heiko.
See you later.
Arabs had all the West Bank. They'd already kicked out all the Jews, and then 5 Arab armies attacked Israel, in their words, to drive the Jews into the sea, but they failed, so that there is a temporary occupation. Okay, there was the Palestinians, the Jordanians, the Syrians, the Lebanese, the Iraqis, and a few other countries sent a few soldiers as well.
Do you hear my
to
question?
attack Israel, and that is why there's a temporary occupation.
Did you hear my
until
question?
you guys make peace with Israel, because you invaded Israel, not the other way round.
Do you hear my question?
Yes, I did. And your
I've got
question,
to
I
repeat
answered
again
it.
because you're answering something else. I said West Bank is a part of Israel, but it's not. Why?
No, it's not part of Israel. It's temporarily occupied.
It's temporary for 74 years.
My brother. Okay, temporary is occupied. My brother. My brother.
My brother, negotiate. That's why.
This is their job.
My brother.
This is their job.
They
brother,
chose
please.
not to.
You said occupied. So is that people have right to resist against occupations?
It depends on the reason for the occupation. It's a temporary defensive occupation.
Is occupied or not?
It's the longest occupation in the history.
It's not difficult.
It's occupied for
The
74 years.
Palestinians should be negotiating withdrawal of the
Okay.
occupied forces.
Okay, well, that's
They
good.
choose not
That's
to.
good. So
they
now,
choose to use suicide bombers and
So now-
stabbings
my brother.
instead of negotiating.
so now we have an issue between Russia and Ukraine. You think they should talk in?
yes,
And Russia stay there, or should Russia draw off Ukraine?
They should
Because Russia
negotiate.
occupied Ukraine.
they should negotiate, and whatever they both come to, that's what should happen.
If there was suicide, if there
What's the difference? What's the difference?
Do you think Russia should stay there for 70 years? No. In Ukraine? So
If
why
there
you
were
stayed
Ukraine-
in the West Bank for 70 years?
if there were
No,
Ukrainian
only
suicide
since
bombers,
1967, which
You're
is
a
not 70
hypocrite.
years. And also, it's only because the Palestinians will not negotiate.
Okay, my next question.
That's why.
My next question.
And it's got friends like you
My next
who
question.
don't want to negotiate.
People they don't know. Do you know how many settlers, Jewish settlers, they live in settlement belong to Palestinian? Nearly 1 million. And they have
No,
kids. No, let me
700,000.
ask a question. Let me ask
that yesterday.
brother, please, I'm begging you,
that
begging you,
yesterday.
brother. Let me see. 1 million settlers live in Palestinian land, not Israeli land. and those they will have children, and they have children. Why you go to tell the children tomorrow to tell them this is not your house, this is a temporary house? You have to go back to Poland where you come from.
Okay, I'll answer that. That Israel has always said when there's a peace deal, some of those settlements can stay under Israel, but the Palestinians will get some land in lieu of it. Hang on. And all those properties owned by Jews who were kicked out by the Arabs in 1948, hopefully some of those will be able to stay there, unless you want to make it Jewish free, as he did in 1967.
Okay.
Yes, you can, madam.
Let me finish my second question.
Yeah, you go. Let him finish.
So, for those people living in this settlement, they come from Europe. They have a house. Let's say, let me back up any one of those audience. Madam, if you have a house, nice house in England or Poland, do you think you can go and take another house of somebody that does not belong to you?
They don't do that, you liar.
I'm not a liar, that's what you said.
Settlements.
Satellite people live in West Bank.
But you live in lies. You pretend they're stealing them from other people. No, they go to areas where no one lives.
It's belong to Palestinians.
No, just 1 minute.
Where
was Israel before 1948?
No, don't.
As God said, we will spread all around the world,
this
and as God said, we will return.
Okay.
God got it right, he's got it wrong.
So, I got it wrong. 1 million wrong people?
No, we're about the Jews returning.
Oh, so are you lying about temporary lying? He's lying about temporary occupation because this is temporary
Tell him. Heaven, where are they?
I'm asking you that.
You tell him.
Jesus the man.
Doing all right?
Running towards that, trying to experience that. He can.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
There's a whole festival happening inside,
fear-based middle class community with like all money, this, that.
right? I mean, if you're in a bad state,
Or for
you're in a
example,
very
when you could be
angry
like,
state, and I
I
play
was
classical
abused as a
music,
child,
you
and I don't think I will ever be
right? Just
mother
like if
just
I'm
because
terrible and
these
I'm in
traumas,
my
I need to work with them myself and to with myself.
lively state,
It's okay.
look at a tree,
Because
fuck the
we are,
tree, you know,
like,
look at a
holistic
flower,
creatures,
fuck
and
the
so that's why
flower.
we're alive, basically.
The festival
And
is
it's
fine
fine
if
that
you
we can choose
be
for
good
ourselves
from
to be
the
like,
inside,
oh, I
you
don't want
see
to
the
get in this
value
situation.
out there.
But then saying, you know, that's one of the for me, the ways out of it is
Hey, doing all right?
But I'm not Catholic. You are calm down. I'm from the people of the Sunnah. You asked me, okay, how many books? No, stop. How many books in the Catholic Bible? Did I answer you? Yes, how many books in the Bible? Did I answer you? How many books in your Bible? Did I answer him? Okay, how many books in your Bible? I said 73. So I answered him. Okay, how many books in your Bible? I want to... He made a claim, which is false. He's scared. His Bible is different. No. How many books in your Bible? Well, I've got many Bibles. So well, it is the one I've got in my bag, 66 books. All right. So is the Bible... So a Bible at home, that's not 73. So no problem. So you are a Protestant, yes? Okay. Well, I'm a Christian. That's what are you a Protestant? Where in the Bible says Protestant? Okay, so why in your bag you have a Bible with 66? Okay, listen. Because you're a Protestant. Listen. Isn't it? No, you know what? If all you're going to do is attack without... 7 book difference. Catholic Bible, 73 books. The Bible in his bag, Protestant Bible.
So this is a Quite a busy day today. Obviously the park's quite full of people. Oh, you alright? Okay. I am filming, yeah. The show's on right now, so you can give your message right now.
I watch you
What
at home.
message do you want to say?
I just want to say how wonderful you are, and I've been watching you on and off coming up here since 1986.
86, well there you go. Back in the day.
When you were young.
That's a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah.
I've actually coming up here since the 60s, on and off, on and off.
Okay. What brought you up here in the 60s?
I don't know. I take after my dad, who was very active in the National Union Railway then.
Oh yeah.
And I get the politics from my dad. And I think somewhere or other, I don't know, I found
You
myself
ended up here
with my sister, my sister. Maybe only, a few times during the year, maybe every other year, maybe now and again.
And what brings you back here?
To see you today.
Okay, but other than
you
that.
at home, because you've taken over subject access, haven't you?
Well, we're doing a program for them. I'm doing a couple of programs for them. There will be a variety of people. There will be a variety of people producing programs.
All right, I see how it is. All right, okay.
And Sam will also start producing again.
Oh, is he? Right.
Yeah, but he's taking a break.
Yeah. No, I've been watching it all because I can't. I've been going on the marches, but I've been watching them all. And there with spirit at home. I'm either standing doing this, or else I'm sitting down drinking a cup of tea, relaxing, enjoying it all.
Okay.
So yeah, no, I've been, and I've been watching this, especially in the winter, because I won't be coming up here again in winter. It's lovely weather. But like last time I came, about a month ago or so, I went to John Lewis, made my way home. I looked across and I thought, oh, I'd love to be there. But I didn't have the energy then. But I got home, tell you, made myself some tea, and then I watched you all. Sort of round it back to the beginning and sat and watched it all.
Okay.
I don't do that.
There's a Bob Dylan song called TV Talking Song. Just look it up. And it's quite prophetic actually, because it does discuss about coming to Speaker's Corner. He's wandered at Speaker's Corner, a fight breaks out.
We had one.
Oh well, always one or two. It's not that big. A little scuffle, no big deal. And then he goes home and watches it on telly.
So when did he write that one?
About 1998 or 2000, something like that. Yeah. So one time in London, I went out for a walk like that. Yeah. Past a place where people talk in Hyde Park, blah blah blah. That. Yeah. All right. See you later. Yeah.
Wouldn't you expect for God to love everybody?
Wouldn't
you expect God to love everybody?
I would expect the Christian God, the biblical God to love everybody, yeah, but not God per se.
Because you said that they hate their actions but love them, which is okay.
Sorry?
It's okay to love the person but hate what they do.
I believe so. That's why I've got it written down.
Is something wrong always wrong?
Yes.
No, but I would say. Let's go back to that.
Well, let's have a little bit of art investment, and then we'll call it a day for today, I think. Got some speeches. I'll be speaking a little while, and Piers will be speaking as well, probably later.
Everything you've been told, whether it be religion, whether it even be atheism, because I think possibly you're an atheist. Do you remember that? Hang on. Do you remember there was something written on the buses a while back which said that God probably doesn't exist. But the word, yeah, it was promoted by the atheists. But the interesting thing was the term probably. And I think that was very clever because it was designed to make people think. And I think it's so relevant, ladies and gentlemen, that we should all take the opportunity to give some time to thinking about ourselves, our identity. It's important to distance yourself from your parents, your teachers. And the reason for this, have a look at the world. Have a look at the horribleness of all the violence going on in the world. I'm preaching here as a pacifist. I'm saying make love, not war. That is my statement. Do you know why these ladies prefer themselves, like their own sex? It's because of men like you who have been influenced, particularly men like you guys there. There's no offense to you, but you've got to learn and develop. Yeah? Like me. Look at me. Look at me. At least when I'm speaking here, you don't have to agree. But it's beautiful. If I was a woman in the audience and I heard me, even if I was a lesbian, I'd say, yeah, maybe. Right. So this is what I'm trying to explain to you. Is at the end of the day, intelligence is everything. But you, of course, can be intelligent in a negative way. I think even Hitler must have been reasonably intelligent to have accomplished what he did. Putin must be quite intelligent to accomplish what he's doing, although in my submission it's probably more to do with narcissistic mentality and this ridiculous notion of feeling that power, that kind of horrible, unsavory power is more important than your own people dying. You know? And I've heard people that are supportive of Putin, but they don't give any rational argument whatsoever. How can you justify a completely unprovoked attack on innocent people? And as a result of it, Finland and Sweden are joining NATO. So it means that Russia will be even more insecure in the future. That's what's going to happen. I don't know, no one seems to want to challenge me.
No, you're doing great.
Oh, really?
You see, there are things that you agree with.
You're only agreeing with me because you want to have me as a man.
You think I'm that starved?
Well, we don't know the psychological interpretation.
All right, Mark.
You better edit that bit out.
It's all cut.
Oh, right, okay.
So that's the Speaker's Corner show for today. I'll be up again having a little rant myself in a little while. And then, as I said, probably Piers will get up as well. Okay, if something occurs, I might nip out the camera again and have a look. But otherwise, that's the state of play. That's the Speaker's Corner show for this week. Tune in, same time, same place. Speaker's Corner, subject access, and there'll be more next week.